Hey, I hope this series has been both encouraging and challenging. As you get to know me, that's literally my personality. It's a little bit split. I want to encourage you and I want to challenge you. I want you to take God's word and I want you to have a conversation with him that helps you live the way Jesus has called you to. And so there's times when we're encouraged, we're lifted up, we're inspired, and we say, wow, God. And there's times I'm going to step on your toes. There's times where we kind of go, ouch, as God wants to form in us more and more the character of Jesus. I hope that this series, as we build this foundation, what matters most, you and God have had some great conversations because we've been looking at if we will. If you and I will take the next step, trust God, and move forward, God will. God has promised. It's a trust in him that leads each one of us to action. And so today, we're tackling something we all struggle with. I struggle with many times and many times. We're right in the middle of summer, right? Got to talk to a few of you. You've had some great vacations. Summer's a time to have lots of fun, lots of activities. But has anyone just felt a little busy? How many of you just raise your hand, you go, summer's been kind of a little busy, a little crazy, a little, yeah, right? I mean, I know it's almost like a joke, isn't it? Like, duh, of course summer's busy here and there and everywhere, right? Because you and I, we often live at a pace and a rhythm that says, gotta get it done. We often live with a speed that says, go, go, go. There's more to accomplish, right? Racing here, there, everywhere, because there's always something more to get done, and we feel the pressure to hurry up and get to it. Because honestly, this is me. I am the fastest lane of traffic. You know, I bet it would be hard to believe I'm a pastor if you're a passenger with me in traffic, because sometimes I'm a little crazy. I'm always looking for the fastest lane of traffic, and I'm frustrated when they're both slow. Anyone else like me? Right? I mean, I am go fast mode often in my orientation. Just take the grocery store. Like H-E-B, Bastrop needs another grocery store, people. That place is nuts. That place is nuts. And so I don't get to do what I normally do, which is, what's the shortest line? What's the shortest line? And I love going to those, 10 items or less or 15 items or less aisles. Any of you come on, right? And you know what I do? I count, right? And if you have 12, bad person. But for me, if I have 12, that doesn't really matter, right? It's 2 milks. Right? Isn't this how we think about life? It's go, 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 and it applies to you. Get out of my way. I got things to do because I like fast. I like to achieve and make it happen. And hear me, that's not bad, but what are the underlying pace, pressures, and promises that I am building my life on? You hear what I'm saying? I don't mind fast. I'm oriented to get things done, but I have to take the time to go, what are the underlying pace, pressures, and promises that I am building my life on? We have to ask those hard questions to get the results God has for us. I mean, just think about that word hurry for a moment, right? Many of us feel like we are in a hurry. You might have even said that to your spouse or kids. Hurry up, we're going to be late for church. But hurry sounds like hurl, right? Or hurdle or hurricane, because that's what hurry can easily do in our life, where we have this frantic effort trying to respond to everything that's grabbing for our attention, demanding to be done. Often we live a pace that's kind of born out of fear or guilt, or we feel like we're missing something. If I could just grab that, achieve that, one more thing to do, or we're even trying to prove something to someone else. We live YOLO and FOMO, and I know it's first service. You might not know what those mean, but our days become a blur, don't they? We're stuck in a state of fatigue. It can just suck the life out of life. Because of the pace we've chosen, we feel a little bit like a husk emotionally, mentally, socially, and spiritually. We can often feel spent by the hurry of life. Numb, a little too much butter scraped over a little too much toast, right? If we're honest, there's this undercurrent of anxiety that we live. We don't want to miss it. We got to get to it. What am I supposed to be doing? There's this tinge of sadness that can creep into our life because of the pace we've chosen. But oftentimes it can be just blah, blah, because you got to get up and do it again. Any of you feel that way? Any of you are willing to admit that that's kind of the pace we've adopted in our culture? Because it pushes us to that. It demands that from us. But again, we have to take God at his word, and we have to look this square in the eyes and say, if I keep up this, what will happen? What's going to happen in my life? Is that really who I want to be and how I want to live? The tyranny of the urgent, everything that demands my attention, this pace that absorbs and sucks the life out of me. And so let's dive into what Jesus has invited you and I into, because it is a choice and it is a challenge. The what if I'm actually willing to change my life to match the pace Jesus has called me to? What if I were to actually dream of better, to embrace healthier, and define life by a different metric of success, not letting the pressure define or drive us? And so that's why the big idea today is this: you and I must decide, what pace will I choose? I have to decide, I must decide, what pace will I choose? And hear me, this is an if we, because he will reality. And this is Jesus's invitation to the burned out, stressed, leave me alone, stuck in a hurry, behind on their to-do list, and reaching for another cup of coffee to get through the day and wine to wind down at night. John 15, join me. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. What's the text say? Remain in me, and I in you. Don't miss that. Don't miss that. We just sang the theology of that. We just sang the belief about that. But let's make sure our life resonates with what Jesus invites us to. Because just as the branch is unable to produce fruit by itself unless it remains in the vine, neither can you unless you remain in me. I hope you see the intimacy of this passage, of the branches and the vine. That into him, we are called to be attached to him, a pace that desires to be close. That Jesus is saying, get right up close with me. That's where you're designed to be. But do we believe that? Do we accept the rhythm of life God's invited us into? See, abide is a decision to be with, to come close, to rely on. It's a life centered on Jesus. And hear me, this isn't try harder. This isn't schedule better. This is an understanding of what is worth pursuing and then orienting our life around the life-giving purpose Jesus has for you. But here's the challenge. Here's the reality. Here's what you and I face every day, that busy is the enemy of intimacy. My friends, I don't want you to miss that. When we're so busy going so fast, that literally hijacks our intimacy in life. Busy is the enemy of intimacy because hurry and love are incompatible, right? Let's pretend you're going on a date night. Let's pretend it's your anniversary or your kid's birthday. How's this going to work? Hey, happy birthday, happy anniversary. I know it's been 30 seconds. See you later. What's that going to be like? And yet that's kind of how we treat God. When I get to it, when I have time, I come on, God, match my pace. Instead of living at the pace God has called each one of us. Don't gloss over this, my friends. The busy is the enemy of intimacy. If you are in love with God, it is incompatible with hurry. Jesus is calling each one of us that follow him to a posture of our heart that craves time with him, desires to be close with him, born of his word, empowered by his spirit. See, my friends, love has a speed. And we would do well to live at that speed. It's like this picture. pace will you and I choose as we follow God? Because there's no microwave or drive-through version of this. We can't Americanize this. There's no McJesus, give me a quarter pounder and a plugged into the vine moment here. We have to decide if we will embrace a pace of life that pauses to be with God, that prioritizes coming close to God. See, I want to challenge you to take it to the next level, not with more effort, but with more stillness. And man, is that hard, isn't it? Stillness is hard in our culture and in our life. But God never designed you to be always on the go, mentally, physically, and spiritually. That is burnout. And that is a breakdown waiting to happen. I know our culture sucks all it can out of us, but that's not the speed, the pace, or the invitation of God. Again, read it. I am the vine. You are the branches. The one who remains in me and I in him produces much fruit because what? Hear me. Hear me. If you believe you've gotten where you're at by your own resources, if you believe you've gotten where you're at by your own smarts, your own strength, your own bank account, if you believe you've gotten where you're at by your own resources, then you will be stressed when you can't handle something with your own resources. See, my worst moments as a person are in my hurry, guys. As a dad, as a pastor, as a husband, as a neighbor, when I choose hurry over love. What God wants to grow in each one of the soils of our life is incompatible with the chaotic frenzy of our culture. You hear what I'm saying? Pace and stress are connected. You wonder why we're stressed out, burned out, crazy nuts? It's because we've allowed a pace to demand and dictate a stress-filled life. And what that means for many of us is that we have to detox. We have to take a hard look at those promises we've made with our life by the pace of our life. We have to untangle it, unpackage it. We got to get honest with what we're doing and how it's impacting our walk with God and our relationships with others. To say it this way, you have to understand what you give your attention to is who you become. What you give your attention to is who you become. Your thoughts, your emotions, your energy is a forecast of where you are going. And so will we stop letting the megaphone of the world describe life to us and demand more from us? I know this isn't easy. It's hard. We've literally been oriented and dictated and marketed to that this is what they need from you. And yet Jesus has such a greater invitation for us. We're not called to be bowing at the altar of busy, my friends. We're not called to live for the idol of success or people's opinions. You're not designed to live next to the throne of stress. Because when we don't have the right pace, we will start to look to the wrong resources, and life gets out of whack. We absorb that culture of hurry, missing the abiding. We get overloaded, and we find ourselves on this crazy train going off the rails, right? Verse 3 says it this way. You've already been pruned and purified by the message I've given you. Don't miss that. That's so critical to understand the context of this chapter, that Jesus has spoken to you life-changing words that rescued you. The gospel rescues you from a life of proving yourself. Again, I don't think we fully understand what Jesus has done on the cross. It isn't just forgiveness in heaven someday. It is life today. The gospel literally rescues you from having to do it on your own and invites you to come close. It changes our understanding of what God is doing in our lives and what is significant and what is success. It changes our understanding of what is worth pursuing and has meaning. And so lean in, because I want to give you a diagnostic. If you are easily irritable, overly sensitive, or reactive, you might have chosen a poor pace. If you are restless and cannot get rest unless you are exhausted and there's no choice, if you are emotionally numb, life feels thin and flat, and the tyranny of the urgent is calling instead of living for what is important, you might have chosen a poor pace. If you see behaviors to escape life and isolated, you might find yourself on that crazy train. And Jesus reaches out with his hand with a choice of trust. And again, these words, remain in me, and I in you. Because just as a branch is not able to produce fruit unless it remains in the vine, neither can you unless you remain in me. If you remain in me and my word remains in you, don't miss this, ask whatever you want and it'll be done for you. You see the Jesus way? Abide, joy, fulfilling, intimacy, and God's working in our lives because we cannot produce what God's calling us to live for apart from in of ourselves. You do not produce the fruit. You plug into the vine. You get right up close and personal with Jesus, and you see his love and power then overflow through you. And so if you are weary, if you're tired of life as you know it, if you have this sneaky suspicion that there might be a better way to be human, I want to give you one thought, and it's this. Right out of Jesus' words, be before do. Be over do. Be with Jesus, become like Jesus, and then do what he would have you to do. Again, don't just say, okay, yeah, right, or roll your eyes. This is literally where I think the enemy's won a great battle, that he says, what you do is who you are. And Jesus is saying, be who you are, and then out of that, do what I've called you to do. Don't let the world flip that on you. Do not let what you do become your identity and value. Young professionals, don't miss that. Seniors, don't miss that. Teenagers, don't miss that. Don't let what you do become your identity and value. And again, hear me, because I can absolutely struggle with this. This is one of my greatest issues. Because my life is very public, lots of people have lots of opinions, right? Because my life is very public. Lots of people have lots of opinions, and it would be very easy for me to perform. I match way too many things based on what I think people think of me because I like to be liked. I start to get into this spin in my mind of what do people expect of me so that people will like me, but then I miss out on who God's called me to be. And so I want to help you center on Jesus. But here's the deal, right? I want to help you center on Jesus, the invitation he has. But if I gave you a list, if I gave you tips and tricks, what are you going to do? Right? You'd likely try them, but then it could so easily become just another thing on our plate. Hey, the pastor said how to rest with God is by doing these 20 things. I'm going to do these 20 things. We got to hurry up and get done so I can get to other stuff. And so I don't want you to miss what I'm about ready to say. How we spend our days is how we spend our lives. If you have a little more gray hair, I know you recognize that. How we spend our days is how we have and will spend our lives. We've got to understand how each day impacts the total trajectory of our lives because we are in a constant battle with the time we have and the demands to be met. And even on our best caffeinated day, I don't care if you make it with Red Bull, right? Instead of water. On our best caffeinated day, you will not be able to do in one day all that demands our attention for that day, right? It's part of what drives us nuts. And so just see it again. Don't miss what God has for you. I am the vine. You are the branches. Be before do. The one who remains in me and I in him produces much fruit because what? You can do nothing without me. Oh, my friends, please don't miss that. My Father is glorified in this, that you produce much fruit and prove to be my disciples. See, the big E on the eye chart is this: you and I can't do it all. And that's why we have to make the hard choice of margins. That you and I would embrace the hard choice of margin. Our world doesn't like to be said no to. Our world doesn't like to have margins, but if you want to keep your sanity and have a better pace, you need to have margin. Margin is where we intentionally live within our God-given capacity with God-given perspective. That's what margin is. A quick, simple definition is our God-given capacity. We each have different seasons and different capacity with God-given perspective. When we make time for margin, it provides two critical things in our life: reflection and direction. Exactly what we've been talking about. God, how are we doing? How's the relationship? How's the intimacy? What am I paying attention to? What is my life pursuing? Reflection and direction. That's what margin provides, where if we're going with everything that demands our attention, we will not have margin. When you make time for margin, it does things where God can speak into our lives. We recognize what's getting our affection and our attention and what's leading us. That we have that opportunity to pause and evaluate and rest and then pursue what God's called us to. See, I think one of the best tricks of the enemy is that he distracts us with good things. And so we don't do what God's called us to. We don't have God in our lives like he has invited us to. See, we make decisions and compromises all the time of how we will choose to spend our time, but it's finite. We can only do so much in any given day. And often, God becomes the first one on the shelf and family the second. And so then we have this new pace of life where we're kind of leaving God in the dust and family on the side, or they're just simply another checklist or burden that we have to do. And guys, here's the scary part. Being busy feels good, doesn't it? Being busy feels good because we're wanted. We're getting things done. People go, attaboy, attagirl. Not everyone can do that. And we become necessary and essential in some system. And then because we've kind of put God on the side and family on the shelf, and we went go, go, go with the world's demands, we come home and we're like, well, that's not like it feels like at work. Because it's kind of awkward, and it's kind of hard. There's some tension. And when we start to talk to God, it's kind of like, where are you? Is it just the ceiling? Are you even there? Because we've kind of made a pace of life that is so focused on achieving so much, we've missed out on the relationships. The monster will never be satisfied. There was a time in my life I worked over 70 hours a week, and I was out 5 nights a week. And my wife was left home caring for 2 small kids. And it about destroyed us until we chose margin. And hear me, don't just throw up a prayer asking God to help you. Don't just throw up a prayer asking God to help you, to give you more energy, and to fill in the gaps at home because you feel like you have to fill in the gaps at work or the gym or even the church. And so I want to be real clear. I know, kind of challenging this morning. Some of you are saying, okay, Dan, okay, I get it. I agree. I need to make God more of a priority in my life. And you know what? You're wrong. God doesn't need to be more of a priority in your life. I know we've been taught that. Put God first, make God the priority, but the problem is then you turn God into a task and into a duty and into a checklist. And if he's the very first checklist, God doesn't say, I want to be a part of your checklist. Jesus doesn't need to be more of a priority in your life. Jesus is life. See the difference? He's the center, the core, the source. From him we live, and from his filling we fulfill our purpose. Again, don't miss the invitation. I have loved you even as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love. You don't perform for it. You abide, you be, you enjoy him. Just let all the worry and the hurry and the insecurity go for a moment and be loved, my friends. Because when you obey my commandments, you remain in my love. And I've told you these things so that you will be filled with what? Don't miss that. The invitation is to live a life overflowing of intimacy and joy direct from Jesus, instead of what we are trying to manufacture. Your joy will overflow, that we live in overflow. See, God helping us, we set limits, we have direction, acknowledging that He is God and just might know what's best for our life. So wrapping up, I want to give you 2 tools, 2 practical ways that you can implement this. The first is the need to say no. The need to say no. And I get it. I totally get it. Many of you, you're thinking, I am so busy to be less busy. I'm too busy to be less busy. I can't say no to everything that's demanding my attention. I'm needed. My friends, there is a rhythm to your body, to our minds. Can you push it? Yes. Can you break it? Absolutely. Meaning the power of your yes is only as good as the strength of your no. Your yes, this is why Jesus says, let your yes be yes and your no be no, because the power of your yes, the commitment of your yes, is only as good as your ability to say no. That you and I, we have to choose, or it will be chosen for us. That we ask, how can I live in a way that receives His blessing? Psalm 46 says this, God is our refuge and strength. What's it say next? And know that I'm God. Don't miss that connection. God is. God is. That's why we can. And ultimately, that's the underlying struggle here, isn't it? That's literally what we have to struggle with. Who is God in our lives? Do we trust His word? Do we trust what He's saying? Do we trust His promises? Or have we learned to kind of rely on our own self, which is why we're out of sorts, overwhelmed and stressed? Do we believe that we can rely on Him, or do we have to take care of it our own? See, the danger isn't that we so much renounce our faith. Rather, we become so distracted and rushed that we settle for a mediocre, hurried version of faith. And so again, start with the no. Will people understand? No. But will you be healthier? Yes. A better family for it? Absolutely. And you will see God more in your life completely. It's this picture. What if we recharged our lives as often as we do our phones? And that's the second. I hope you see that Jesus offers real rest. That we need rest. A rest that replenishes energy, yes, but it's also a rest that renews our intimacy with God and releases our burdens into His presence, releases our worries and our hurts. In our day and age of constant access, communications, smartphones and demanding our attention, 24-hour news cycle and social media cycle, please, what I'm saying is recognize whose voice is carrying the most weight. Because when we're so busy that it keeps us from relating well to God, we're going to miss His voice. He's not going to shout over the noise that we placed in our life. So unplug from the toxic and plug into Jesus to hear His voice again. I want to just give you a chance to pause and to talk to Jesus personally, to be still in this moment and not let the distractions dictate. In a moment, we're going to be taking communion, a time of remembrance, but just take Jesus up on His invitation. I'm going to share with you, it's the Message translation, but I love how it says this invitation. Go ahead and close your eyes, and I want to read it over you. Are you tired? Worn out? Burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I will not lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you will learn to live freely and lightly. God, may we just take you up on your word. It's not just a song we've sung, but it's the life we want to live. And God, we admit to you, we confess to you that the pace is overwhelming, it's demanding. Our culture is constantly beating the drum of performance. The tyranny of the urgent can wreck our souls. And so we just want to come to you and find rest. We just want to plug into you, the vine. We want to believe what you are telling us this morning, that it's not what we do. It's who you're inviting us to become, to come close, to stay a while, to enjoy your presence, and then live in that overflow. And so, God, as we take communion, as we remember your sacrifice, may you refresh us, remind us, and help us choose the pace you've called us to. Because if we will, we know you will. In Jesus' name, amen.